Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Global Healthcare Heroes, where we celebrate one hero at a time. So, today, the personality, the hero we have today, he is a nurse, he is a social worker, and he is also has his doctorate in psychology. And his name is Dr. Wesley Willis. I will go ahead and read Dr. West's bio, and then we'll go ahead and converse with him. The seed of helping others was planted as Wesley witnessed his mother passion for as a foster care social worker with the Division of Child Welfare. He began volunteering with the same department during the high school years. Upon graduation from Talladega High School, he was inspired by the family to enter the field of nursing and earned his associates in applied science with a major in nursing from Central Alabama Community College in 2000. During the undergrad, he was inspired further by several dynamic and fascinating professors in the Department of Social Work. While attending Alabama State University, where he obtained his Bachelor's of Social Work in 2002. It was from these professors' interest, investment, and encouragement that he went on to pursue and complete a master's in social work at the University of Alabama in 2003. He later obtained a master's of science in public safety from Auburn University in Montgomery in 2003. He later, in 2004, my apologies, as he gained professional experience, Wesley continued his education in human behavior and obtained his doctorate in psychology from Argosy University in 2010 and a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing from Herbert H. Lehman College in Bronx, New York in 2011. He started his own practice, Rio Wellness, and that stands for Reflective Healing and Inspiring Outcome, in 2010 with the goal of meeting the holistic mental and physical health need with a practice in District of Columbia, New York City, and upstate New York. He currently serves as a president for a New York State chapter of American Psychiatric Nurses Association, board trustee of Harriet Tubman Charter School in Bronx, an active member of Sigma Theta Tau International Honor Society of Nursing, chair of fundraising committee of the New York City chapter of a National Black Nurse Association, and a co-moderator for the New York State Society of Clinical Social Worker. He is licensed in profession of psychology, clinical social work, and nursing. So at this time, we welcome Dr. Willis. So thank you for your time and welcome.
Thank you, Manjeet. Every time I hear it, I was just thinking, like with all the schooling, I was just thinking about how it like spiraled and roller coastered out of control after high school. It doesn't. I think in the bio it sounds like it did, but it sounded like it was a very, very long. It felt like a very, very long time.
Sir, thank you for letting me celebrate you as a hero. And we truly welcome you. It's an honor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, Manjeet.
Sir, I start with this question that, of course, nursing comes later in your life, but what inspired you to be a nurse? And if you can continue with the same line of thought, you started with the social work and then nursing. So what led to one to another?
So I actually started with nursing. My community college education was in nursing. I went on to do social work purely, not purely, but partly inspired by the work that my mother was doing. And the nursing degree was just a local community college where I went to nursing school. So it wasn't as heavily a heavy investment from a professional standpoint after completing my nursing degree to pursue nursing as a career. And I think I think that generally some of the thought pattern, or not really thought pattern, but some of the experience that I hear from young people, because I was 19 at the time, 20, when I completed my nursing degree. I'm not really appreciating the profession that I had, and seeing that the work that my mother was doing was so incredibly celebrated. So that's kind of what inspired me to become a nurse. Was my family, my aunts were nurses. My mother, being a social worker, inspired me more to be a social worker. I had such a great experience during getting my BSW, because I was kind of like fast tracked because I already had a community college degree to go and get my master's in social work. So it was kind of like a handed experience, if you will, off to the next level.
Sure, so wonderful. Now, your passion for nursing cannot go unnoticed. Now, you have traveled different countries. You have interviewed many nurses, especially a male population. Now, I want to ask you, what led you to that journey, and what you have learned. If you would please share your experience with us.
So the journey to kind of to do work in television and broadcast work has, I think, always been there. Even from when I was very young, my parents and my family kind of like, "Oh, you're going to be in television." We kind of see that in your personality, and it's so funny to kind of go full fast forward ahead and have done things like appear on Good Morning America, and done things like be on like several television channels, hosting like different television shows, and then moving on and doing my own. As a board member of the American Association of Men in Nursing, and also being obviously a man in nursing myself, I think the lived experiences of men in this particular profession is so important to add to the wealth of information that we already know about what people experience when they go into being caregivers. That is something that should be documented. One of my mentors, Barbara Glickman, who created the American Nurse, and that was a movie that did incredibly well. And she's a nurse documentarian and a nurse filmer. Kind of inspired me to move on into kind of like the field of television broadcast and documentarian, and maintain that, the work as a nurse.
Sir, no, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, sir, also, you do have your YouTube channel. I want to hear a little bit more about that, and it is called The Nurse Doc.
Yeah.
THENURSEDOC, Nurse Doc. So, what is the nature of that channel, and what led you to start that program?
Mm-hmm. So about 3 years ago, I started venturing into doing telehealth as part of my practice, and move away from being in a brick and mortar practice, because I kind of saw the writing on the wall that that's really where technology was going. So as part of the investment of creating a telehealth practice, a really robust and interactive telehealth practice, I thought that it would be great to lend to the voice and information that's out there in terms of people's ability to get that information. I think it's great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great when people come into people's practices and find it and do the work to initiate that. But a lot of times, the technology today lends itself. People look for answers because they have so much anxiety about going into an office or seeking mental health. So what I did was create this channel with the goal of, again, being a voice and beacon for information for people to go out and find during like their search for things like, how do I cope with depression? What does depression look like in Black men? I'm a Black man who lives in a very small rural town with very little resources to reach somebody, or to reach a doctor, or to reach a licensed therapist, to talk about these feelings that I'm having. So the challenge typically is mostly centered around mental health, physical health, conversations with individuals who are in all different parts of the world, like especially with the Black Lives Matter movement and the recent riots and protesting. I was fortunate enough to have on a really close colleague, Dr. Ernest Grant, who's the first Black male president of the American Nurses Association. And I've had on different presidents from other organizations and Miss America to talk about kind of like their struggles and their work and their passions.
Sir, and I wish you all the very good luck and all the success. And thank you for that beautiful, encouraging effort that you are doing, and God bless you for that. So I want to get your insight on this workforce shortage that not only in America but globally. Now, if you have any solution, what should we do? Is there any solution that you have that you would like to share? What can be done towards the shortage? We can solve this problem. Any insight?
Wow, that's a very big question,
Yes.
and a very big challenge trying to meet the shortage. I mean, because the World Health Organization projected before the coronavirus pandemic
Right.
that we would need 600,000 nurses across the world in order to meet the global goal of healthcare for all. And that really includes nurses. Nurses have led the way in the challenge, as we see in kind of like this particular pandemic, and so many other like experiences before in the U.S. in U.S. history and all over the world. I think that a great part of it is visibility. One thing I love about millennial nurses, because I'm not the age of being a millennial nurse. I think that the encouragement coming from millennial nurses, providing visibility on things like Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, I think that creates such a huge wealth of abilities for high schoolers, junior high schoolers, to look and say, you know, as they think about what they want to be when they grow up, see nurses who are living really, really robust lives and feeling appreciated and enjoying their profession. I think that that's one big thing, is the visibility that millennials are creating by being things like what we call influencers. And I also think the second part of that is bringing visibility by talking about like men being in nursing, because males becoming nurses aren't the first thought on their mind. And obviously, not even like people like counselors in small rural towns would think to recommend to a child, you know, to a male boy, you know, I know you think you want to be, you know, a medical and go to medical school, or that you don't know what you want to do. Have you ever thought about nursing? Because sometimes a lot of people don't really have exposure to nurses or nurses in their families, surprisingly. And so I think that that's going to be part of kind of meeting that shortage, is really recognizing, celebrating, and appreciating all of us in the healthcare profession, but more specifically nurses, no matter from what walks of life that you come from, that you have the ability to come into this profession and make a change and be a difference.
Sir, that's very beautiful, and you definitely have touched very few good points. Now, sir, I wanted to ask you, when I did ask you about the YouTube channel of yours, there is also, you do a podcast as well. Is that the same, or it's slightly different? It's other than the YouTube channel, that podcast that you do?
Right. Well, it is. It's kind of mostly the same.
Okay.
It's information, because again, people want it to be portable. So sometimes a lot of my conversations can last 30 to 45 minutes. So as you know, kind of present day, people like to take podcasts on the road. They like to jog and listen to podcasts at the same time, as opposed to watching a live stream that I've done, because I produced the same live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So I stream to all of those different platforms video-wise. But sometimes, like I said, people just like to go on and add it to their favorite podcast while they do different types of work. So it's very similar, but the other part of it is like a part of it is playing music. So I create typically like a playlist for the week that I'll play during during the course of the podcast, just to kind of make it interesting. But so it's a little bit more liver. A lot of times when I talk with the people that I work with, that I'll do interviews with, we'll do a pre-show conversation on the podcast, answer questions, and then at the end of that, when we go off of the live stream, kind of let our hair down, for lack of a better word, and talk very off cuff about what it was to feel like to be interviewed, and ask certain questions, or even talk about maybe sometimes difficult topics that talking about it on a camera doesn't lend itself able to do.
Wonderful. Well, sir, then thank you. Now, if there is one message you would like to relate to your fellow healthcare workforce globally, what that message would be?
And very much just kind of like what you're doing, Manji, is to, create visibility. I love, the creation of this channel that you've done. I think that it's amazing because we as nurses have so many great ideas and so many, we have so much that inspires us from day to day. And I think that that's important to get it out. So I would tell them very much just like you, take the time, become an influencer, add your voice to the little, unfortunately, limited voices that are out there that look like us, being nurses, being healthcare workers. We have such great information that it's important to share. And so, I mean, you never know what you may change in somebody else's life. So take the time, be great in all of these different facets of life.
Wonderful, sir. Well, sir, thank you. And again, at this time, I really want to direct all the focus to you, because the reason why you are here is simply to celebrate you as a hero.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And this is our prayer, that may God continue to bless you. And as you are continue to work, you work as a counselor, you work as a hands-on nurse. I think your discipline is CVICU, and as you share your wealth of knowledge and you continue to change the life of the people you touch, my prayer is that may God bless you, and thank you for being who you are, and continue to do the good work that you're doing. So thank you.
I really appreciate it, Manjeet. Thank you again so much for having me on.
It's truly our pleasure. And to all the viewers, again, I would reinforce, please go ahead and visit the YouTube channel, The Nurse Doc. Please go ahead and subscribe to Dr. Willis' channel. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so as well. And if you have any question for Dr. Willis, please do write and post your questions under the comment section. And please always remember, if you are in healthcare, you are a hero. Until next time we meet, take care. Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you.